Shalom everyone, prayerfully all is well. I'm coming on here to do another important The Restored Scriptures version update. I know it's been a while since we've posted and uploaded on here, so I just wanted to come on here to update everyone about this. And again, you can see the updates on the actual donor box profile page in case you're wondering where you can find it. Here you can also find helpful links for the digital version. Praise Yahuwah, we have the digital version up and running. You can see the updates here. You can also find the Cash App and PayPal information as well as the Rumble channel, the 2025 appointed times calendar, and the order form. However, please only fill this out if you have not filled out the other forms. So again, Shalum Mashpakah, which means peace be unto you, family. Once again, I wanted to give a quick TRSV update. As you can see, I know it's been over 4 months since we've last updated and since it has been digitally published onto our website. So I wanted to just share with you, what we've been doing within the last 4 months and where we are and some future updates and just some housekeeping things about this. So again, YADAH, YAHUAH, B'Sham YAHUSHA, which means praise Yahuwah in the name of Yahusha, that the Restored Scriptures version is officially available digitally. So here's our progress within the last 4 to 5 months, just so that you know. We've been editing many of the books in the Restored Scriptures version. As you can imagine, it's a lot trying to edit over 775,000 words worth of scriptural material. So again, we thank you in advance for your patience. This is actually taking quite some time to get through the edits with some of these books because again, it's just a lot of words and material indeed. Also, we're mostly editing for capitalization, grammar, punctuation, spacing and formatting fixes, technical issues. We also have to go over some of the passages when it comes to the interlinear and the Septuagint references, etc. And as you know, this is very time consuming indeed. Also, for those of you who don't know, again, I try to be as transparent on here as possible with you all when it comes to this version and just when it comes to the channel in general. But please understand that for the Restored Scriptures version, we mostly had to copy and paste from the WEB version, which is the World English Bible as it's known, which is in the public domain. And we had to do that because it's in the public domain. And so when we did that, we then manually added in the restored names and places, went over the interlinear translations, consulted multiple versions and other translations to get multiple witnesses on the matter for the verses, go through a thorough line-by-line verse breakdown, etc. And again, that was very time-consuming. We already did that in the 3 months that we spent trying to put the scriptures up last winter. And then, of course, it resulted in what you see in the digital version. However, what you have to understand is that the WEB version does not capitalize references made to our creator. So that means we have to manually reinsert those capitalizations where needed and when we're referring to our creator. And again, this takes a ton of time on our part. It's actually taking longer to do this than actually putting together the Restored Scriptures version. So again, we thank you for your patience. I understand that we said that we really would do our best to have the Restored Scriptures version as a physical copy by the summer, but this is where we are right now so that you have a better understanding. So we're thankful to everyone who's donated and donating, but this is the reality about where we are. So far, we've received over 200 orders total for the Restored Scriptures version, and that's a lot of orders. We're thankful because that's orders from all over the world. However, in order to fulfill the physical TRSV initial print run, we would need to print at least 1,000 copies to ensure that everyone who's filled out the form receives their free copy. As you can imagine, this is not cheap, but exactly how much is this endeavor going to cost? Now, please understand the following as well. I've reached out to various self-publishing companies and vanity presses for book printing and distribution. Now, for those of you who already do not know, I actually come from a publishing editorial background. I actually worked at a publishing house, one of the oldest publishing houses in America, so I'm very familiar when it comes to publishing and printing, and I'm also an author outside of the channel. I've also self-published a few books of my own outside of this, so I'm very familiar with this process indeed. But for those of you who don't understand publishing and how it works and how it goes, you should understand that if you're trying to go to a vanity press, most printing presses in America, their page count that they will allow to print maximum is 1,200 pages. Even when we try to condense the Restored Scriptures version, right now it's at about 1,574 pages on the PDF document. When we try to lower the fonts, adjust the margins, etc., the page count still just goes way over the 1,200 number. And due to people who might be sensitive to reading lower fonts, we simply just cannot go lower than the 12-point font for printing. That means that the only other viable option for printing the Restored Scriptures version is to print overseas in a place like China with a printer or company who specializes in specifically publishing bulk books or scriptures or so-called Bibles or scriptures such as the Restored Scriptures version. So basically, we have to go with the company who specializes specifically in printing scriptures. There's a difference between just printing a regular book and printing scriptures. There's a specific printer that needs to be fulfilled with printing most scriptures and most BIBLESs that you see today. It's just very specific and technical because of the high page count. So again, I reached out to a few companies myself, and you can see the screenshotted emails below, and one of the companies quoted me this price. So I'm going to share with you two different companies and the prices that they quoted me. So this is one of the companies right here, and this gives actually a more detailed breakdown of it. This is the quotation. So this you see right here. So it would cost almost 10 grand for 1,000 copies of just printing the book, and then shipping the book from overseas to America would cost almost 8,000 alone. Now, if it were to be in color, it would cost an additional 8,000 for color. So it would be about a total 25,000 from this company, and you can read the quotation here. Again, I will link this in the description box below so you can be able to see it and read it on your own time. Again, I just want to give people an idea of how much this is actually going to cost so that you understand exactly where we are right now in the process and the cost of this. Another company called Book Printing China quoted me this for 500 copies. So this is not for 1,000, but this is for 500. And even with 500, it's still well over $10,000 total. And again, we've received so many orders that we'd have to print out about 1,000 copies to ensure that everyone who's filled out the form so far will be able to actually receive a copy. So as you can see, the total would be well over 10,000. So in summary, it would cost about 9,500 for the book cost. Shipping would cost another 7,500, and part of that has to do with the tariffs that have been going on with Trump and everything. I know we've not been covering that stuff, but again, if you've been following, you will understand the bigger agenda ahead of time. And also with color, if we were to publish in color, that's how much it would cost. So with color, it would be about 25,000. Without color, it would be about 17,000. So again, we don't necessarily need to print it in color because the color is mostly from the maps in the index that you can find on the digital version at the restoredscripturesversion.net. So we don't necessarily need to print in color. So we can save 8,000 and just print in black and white for a total of 17,100. But again, to print 1,000 copies, it's going to cost around $17,000. Even if we were to go the vanity publishing route or print here in the States, the cost will be about the same. Why? Because it will cost between $2,000 and $3,000 for them to actually publish with that company, if not more. And then guess what? We'd still have to pay shipping and handling costs for them to ship those 1,000 copies from their company to me, and they're going to charge per copy to do that. And let's say they charge an average $10 to $12 per copy to do that. It's still going to total to $10,000 to $12,000, not to mention any other potential fees. So we're still looking at a good $15,000 right there alone. So we're still looking at $15,000 to $17,000 just to print 1,000 copies of the Restored Scriptures version alone. Not only that, but please understand this as well. For those of you who might be wondering, it's going to cost an additional cost to ship the Restored Scriptures version from my doorstep to all of you. Understand, we're going to be mailing everyone a copy free of charge. So we're not going to be paying anyone for it. That means we'd have to pay on the back end for every copy mailed. We'd pay and compensate all shipping and handling costs. That means it will cost an average, and again, this is just an average, $10 to ship one copy of the Restored Scriptures version to someone. And again, some people requested 5 copies. Well, to ship 5 copies to you, each one is going to have to pay for shipping and handling. And not only only that, but on top of that, remember, because it's a bulk book and because the book we're projecting close to 1,600 pages, it's going to be costly to ship it indeed. That's not even accounting for international shipments either, because again, there are people who have requested the book from overseas. Also, I should note this as well. If you're outside of the USA, it might take a bit longer for your shipments to arrive. In some cases, for those of you who've ordered from countries or places or regions such as Africa, the homeland, India, etc., we may even have to physically bring the book to you if there's no viable way to ship it, if the shipment gets lost, anything could happen. So again, we thank you again for even more patience, because if you're outside of the USA, and this includes in Europe, in the UK, it's just going to take longer for your book to arrive. And again, we apologize for that, but this is just the reality of where we are right now. But again, it's going to cost an additional $10,000 for shipping and handling costs, and it's based on estimates on top of the $17,000 just to print the Restored Scriptures version. So that brings the total to about $27,000. So again, this is just a brief recap of how much it would cost. So the book cost would be about $953 per copy times 1,000. That's about $9,500. Shipping cost would be $757 per copy, or about $7,500 for 1,000 copies. And the shipping and handling from our organization to your doorstep is about, and again, that's just a rough estimate. We're praying that it would be about $10 a copy for shipping and handling, for about $10,000 total, for a grand total of $27,000. So here's how you can help. You'll notice that we've added a goal meter to the campaign. So the goal meter reads $30,000. As you can see, you'll see on the campaign that right now we have about $2,500 raised on this donor box campaign. However, if you account for the Cash App, PayPal, and other donation methods, we've raised over $5,000 in donations total so far, but we still need help with the remaining $25,000. If you'd like to help see TRSV in print, please support us in this endeavor. If you'd like to contribute a large donation, but if we would like to remain anonymous, or if you don't want your information posted on the donor box page, please reach out to me directly at witnesstotheworld1@gmail.com. Again, my email is witnesstotheworld1. Again, there's a number 1 there at gmail.com. Please definitely reach out indeed. And again, the word says you have not because you ask not. So I'm humbling myself and asking indeed for your help. And again, I know it sounds like a lot, but the word says, quoted from TRSV, that what Yahusha said, with men this is impossible, but with Allah all is possible. I also posted some future goals. So again, our future goals: raise enough funds to print and distribute the Restored Scriptures version. Once we raise the initial $17,000 for printing, it will still take about 6 to 8 weeks before it can arrive to the States from China or Malaysia, depending on where it's going to be printed. That means that we're not hoping to receive it until sometime in the fall. Again, I apologize for the delay, but this is just the reality of where we are. Now, once the book does go into printing, we're immediately going to start on the apocryphal books as well, including 𝐤𝐿𝐿 and some other ones in the other 14 books that were taken out of the original scriptures. And because of spacing and because of just page count and length, the apocrypha is going to have to be published as its own version. It's not going to be added or included in the actual Restored Scriptures version with the actual 52 scriptural books. Also, we're looking to edit the website to group books based on chapters. So instead of endlessly scrolling on a book, we're going to be able to try to see if we can add chapter numbers and actually chapter links like other websites have. But again, that's just going to take more time on our part. And again, that's prayerfully will make it easier for you to study. So like, for example, if you're reading the book of Yeshayahu or Isaiah in the Restored Scriptures version, instead of going through and scrolling through 66 chapters, or if you have to look at chapter 2, but then you want to reference chapter 64, well, instead of constantly scrolling, we're going to look to make that a little bit easier for you in your own personal studies. We're also still praying to release the Restored Scriptures version as an app. I have not forgotten. However, I've reached out to a group that's responsible for placing various scripture versions on a syndicated worldwide app. However, this group denied my request because, of course, because TRSV does not adhere to the Trinitarian exegen doctrine that they're looking for. So that means we'd have to release an app independently, separate separately of any groups and sects and doctrines. We also, of course, like we said before in previous videos and updates, we're still looking to release a second or third version, Yahuwah willing, that will include a glossary, the restored all thah symbol that was taken out over 12,000 times, etc. And please also understand that we are not getting any funding from any 501c3 governments or corporations. We're not getting any funding from church groups or church organizations. We're not getting any funding from any government councils or ministry councils or religious councils. We're not getting any funding from Christian or Christian ministries, etc. Now, it's important that you all understand too that most ministries and witnessing organizations who complete a new scriptures version or even task themselves with doing a new scriptures version, they can get direct and immediate funding from these organizations. So they can easily get funding from Christian ministries. They can get funding from 501c3 corporations. They can get funding in order to print out their own version of their own scriptures if they wanted to, if they're Christian though. But if you're not Christian, then because we're not an Christian organization or ministry, we don't have the same access to those funders. We can't get that funding because of that reason alone. We also cannot charge anyone for the Restored Scriptures version. I know there are some versions out there that have the restored names in them that charge people for a copy of their scriptures. I'm not led to do that. I'm not led to charge anyone for these scriptures. And because of that reason, that means anyone who wants or needs a physical copy of the Restored Scriptures version is entitled to receive one for free. Now, it's just interesting. If I were to charge $50, for example, and if 400 people were to pay that, that would be $20,000, and that would cover the printing cost. But again, I'm not led to do that, so that's why we have to do it this way. That's why I have to humbly ask here on the channel, on the network, that if it's on your heart to give, if it's on your heart, if you know somebody who's willing to give, or if you know of anyone, that's why we need your help and support. And again, if you're led to donate even more, if you're led to donate even a larger donation, please reach out. If you are, it would really help us a lot, and it would really help us in our endeavor of getting the Restored Scriptures version. And of course, for everyone, please continue to keep in prayer unto Yahuwah in the name of Yahusha, and continue to seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, because indeed the Restored Scriptures version will go forth indeed, but again, it's all in Yahuwah's timing. And I thank you all for your support. I thank you all for helping over the years. I thank you all for your encouraging words, your encouraging emails, your encouraging comments, and just really encouraging in general, especially in these trying times. But as always, this is Truth Unveiled here saying Shalom.